views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Get fired up for Spirit Fire Radio, your guide to practical mindfulness and meditation. Join hosts Tim Darter and Steve Kramer and discover how to add the mechanics of meditation to your day. Watch yourself connecting in a whole new way and find the amazing moments in life's routines that often pass us by. Add to your awareness with Spirit Fire Radio. Now here's your hosts, Tim Darter and Steve Kramer.
Hi there. Welcome to Spirit Fire Radio. I'm Steve Kramer.
And I'm Tim Darter.
It's great to be with you. I personally have been so excited about this show. I've been looking forward to it for quite some time. Before we get to our very dynamic and just wonderful gentleman of a guest, I'd love to tell you about this week's step. This week's step is called Ground of Being. If you're new to listening to the show, the steps of the practice are mimicked within this radio show. Each week we dedicate a show to a step within Spirit Fire's meditation practice, the practice of living awareness. So those meditations are live all week, and this week is called the Ground of Being. And within the greater practice of the practice of living awareness, we are at a very important stage. We've spent all of the weeks prior in the practice focused above the diaphragm. We've mostly been focused on the lungs, on the heart, and on the mind. So we've learned how to use the lungs as a tool, and we've learned how to use the breath as a guide. We've opened up to the heart. We've connected the heart to the mind. We've opened up to the light of the mind, and we've found that we can tap into that at any time during our day. So in this stage, we're actually going to bring all that in and bring it all down to our ground. Bring it all down to this stage that we find ourselves on expressing called Mother Earth. And so we ask ourselves within this step, how do I express on this stage? And how do I bring these tools of meditation into my everyday? How do they influence my relationships? How am I actually connected to the world around me? How do I express in it, and how do I receive its expression? So we embody this gentleness that we hopefully have found through meditation, this kindness, creativity, awareness, and that actually becomes the ground in which we stand upon. It becomes the foundation for which we express. So this step is very much about appreciation. It's about appreciating this earth school that we're all on. We hear that term. A lot of people use that term, earth school. So the Mother Earth, she provides us with this education. She provides us with much, actually. This not only this stage for our growth and our discovery, it's only part of the equation. Mother Earth is actually this living, breathing organism, and we are as much a part of her in the same way that perhaps our stomach is a part of us. We exist within the Mother Earth. So you think of our atmosphere, we actually are contained by her. And in the same way that a bad situation in our stomach can wreak havoc on our whole system, when we experience dis-ease within humanity, it can lead to dis-ease within our ecosystem and vice versa. So it's all totally related. So it seems appropriate that this week is Ground of Being, and that there's also a UN summit on climate change in Paris. No small coincidence. There's actually an article in the New Yorker this week that I found very interesting by Elizabeth Colbert. She is a Pulitzer Prize winning author. She writes much on the environment, and she says in this short article, one of the most robust predictions that can be made about climate change is that it will send millions, perhaps tens or hundreds of millions of people in search of new homes. And so I found it interesting that it's no small coincidence that 4 years of consecutive severe drought in Syria led to this mass evacuation within the country just before the Civil War. And the Civil War saw this new occupation of those areas that led to mass evacuation out of Syria, and this led to this great global concern that we've all been hearing about. And so we see these two very intense global events back to back in Paris that seem unrelated when in fact they couldn't be more intertwined. So Elizabeth Colbert, she sums this up by saying by mid-century, which in the grand scheme of things is not so very long from now, this Syrian refugee crisis is likely to seem routine to us. So we've got to be able to zoom out to the macro and see Mother Earth as this living, breathing organism. She creates this ground and this stage in which we as a humanity express, but we've also got to be able to tune into the micro and define and refine our personal and very intimate relationship with her. So this tuning into Mother Earth and creating intimacy with Mother Earth brings us to our guest today, Zacciah Blackburn. He is not unlike last week's guest in that he's not only a teacher, but I would consider him to be an interpreter, even a surveyor of life as this grand, energetic unfolding.
And we've been blessed to have Zacciah at the Spirit Fire for his own retreats multiple times, and those retreats are always some of our favorites.
Indeed.
Yeah, so welcome, Zacciah, to Spirit Fire Radio.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here. I appreciate the invitation.
Sure, and you know, your list of accolades just goes on and on. So just to help our listeners understand what it is that your body of work encompasses, can you just kind of fill us on what it is you do?
Well, it's fundamentally three areas of work. I teach sound therapy. I teach how to use sound as a healing modality. I teach consciousness practices for self-evolution, drawing from the wisdom of many living and past schools of wisdom on the planet, such as Tibetan Buddhism or Egyptian mysticism. And I also teach earth energy practices, how to go out into the earth or sacred sites of the earth and work conscientiously and intentionally with the energies and the intelligences that are present there in ways that benefit us and the planet as a whole.
Wonderful. Both Tim and I have been blessed to be involved in some of those, to experience some of the most beautiful work you do. And in relation with you and in relation with the earth, as you this sort of intermediary, the earth just becomes this alive, vibrant, sound-producing just arena. I mean,
Orchestra,
you really
yeah.
have a way to bring the earth alive in front of somebody. So just the work you do is a blessing, indeed.
Well, I appreciate that, but I want to turn it back because the earth is alive, and that's fundamental to our work, is understanding, as all indigenous cultures do and all of the wisdom schools understand, that everything is alive and conscious. Indeed, modern physics is coming to that point where I've listened to modern physicists literally say, we are at the point where we would be hard-pressed to not say that every atom is conscious. When we understand that the earth and every part of it is a living consciousness, and we approach it with the due reverence and respect that it deserves, it will respond just as you and I and our neighbors respond to each other when we treat each other with kindness and respect.
Music to my ears, indeed.
Yes.
So
when we go out to the earth and we speak to it, we sing to it, we give offerings to it, we give thanks to it, literally it will respond in very magical and mystical ways that indigenous people would say are just an everyday way of life, but the Western mind goes, oh my God, this is just amazing magic that's going on.
I can say that one thing I'm so excited about is you have promised to give us a little taste of that. We've mentioned different cultures, and Zacciah has promised to do a Peruvian mystery exercise for cleansing and connection to the Mother Earth. Sounds so grand. We've not actually done any sort of experiential work on the show before. We've not done any sort of meditations, and so I'm really excited that this is going to take a greater part of the second half of the show. So I'm really thrilled about that and looking forward to it.
Well, I look forward to offering it, and it's coming from the Peruvian schools. And one of the things I love about the Peruvian practices is that they're very simple and yet very effective. So just sitting in your own living room listening, if you will just collaborate with us in your own mind and heart, we can have a very beautiful and enriching practice.
Wow. I can say that at Spirit Fire, one of the most beautiful, wonderful times I've ever had was a sound bath in which I was gifted. You're laughing because still to this day I talk about it, just gifted with this beautiful experiential half hour of sheer bliss of receiving beautiful sounds. So we're going to go to a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about Mother Earth as this stage. We'll be right back with Zacciah Blackburn.
legend lives on from the Chippewa on down of the big lake they call Gitchagumi. The lake, it is said, never gives up her dead when the skies of November turn gloomy. With a load of iron ore, 26,000 tons more than the Edmund Fitzgerald weighed empty.
Transformation Talk Radio is dedicated to the education and awareness of Lyme disease.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Lyme Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Pat, joined here by
Dr. Nusheen Darvish.
Dr. Pat Basili and Dr. Nusheen Darvish will be bringing the most innovative, groundbreaking information, research, treatment innovations, and stories from those it affects every day.
I'm so excited to be talking about this.
We have so much to share.
Dr. Darvish and I are planning to do is connect the dots.
People suffering with all sorts of chronic diseases, it's time. It is time for them to transform.
Tune into Lyme Talk Radio and help keep our mission strong.
For the loyal listeners out there that have been listening to this incredible show on Lyme disease, we are not going to let you down. We're going to come through stronger and enrich the platform for Lyme disease awareness through Lyme Talk Radio. The message will continue, the conversations will become stronger, and the healing epic.
Hi, I'm Tim Darter.
And I'm Steve Kramer.
Join us on Spirit Fire Radio. Discover how to add the mechanics of meditation to your day.
And watch yourself connect in a whole new way. Find the amazing moments in life's routines that often pass us by. Add to your awareness with Spirit Fire Radio.
Tune in each Wednesday at 9 a.m. for your weekly guide to practical mindfulness. And to learn more, visit www.spiritfireradio.com.
Shine On Radio. Find Your Shine with Kelly is the show that celebrates what makes you, you. Join co-hosts Kelly Wadler and Dr. Pat Basili as they break down how to brilliantly fuel and move your body and love what makes you shine. Kelly is a professional arts and wellness coach dedicated to helping brilliant women find their confidence, energy, self-love, and shine. Tune in to Shine On Radio with Kelly and find your shine on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Tune in to The Jen Royster Show, intuitive guidance to inspire your life, each Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific and 11 a.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. This amazing show is an inspirational hour that will take you on an epic metaphysical journey to discover the spiritual approach to life's greatest challenges. Dr. Jen is an internationally known intuitive counselor, spiritual teacher, and energy healer. Call in for intuitive readings and visit JenRoyster.com for more information.
1230 WPLQ.
Welcome back to Spirit Fire Radio. We are joined today with Zacciah Blackburn. He is an intuitive, a teacher. He's trained in shamanic traditions. Shamanic sound healing is what he does so well. We were talking before we went to the break about the earth as a living organism. And we were talking about these sacred points on earth. Zacciah, I know you've traveled all over the world. Just one glance at your website shows classes in Peru, in Spain, in Africa. You've traveled the world. I would love to hear just a little bit about this Mother Earth. You've seen her from a very different perspective, and you've connected to very sacred spots on Mother Earth. I would love to hear just from you some of that experience, some places that come to mind.
Well, I appreciate that, Steve, and I'd be glad to talk about it. I have been blessed with going to many different parts of the earth and been to many of the places that we would call the sacred sites of the earth, from the Giza Plateau in Egypt to Stonehenge in England and to Machu Picchu in Peru, just to name a few. And these are very, very powerful vortexes of energy in which ancient peoples utilized to enhance their own spiritual development. And there's very specific practices and awarenesses related to these cultures and to the sites themselves. But in general, the ancient people had a keen way of understanding the way in which earth energies crisscross, interlace around the body of the earth, much like the meridian system does from five elemental medicine, the Chinese acupuncture system and so forth. Just as the meridians wrap energy about and interconnect organ systems and emotional aspects of our own consciousness and so forth, so too there is an energetic grid which wraps around the planet. People knew this in ancient times, and there are places where there are intersecting currents of energy that are especially potentized, and most of our ancestors learned how to place their temple complexes or ceremonial sites in these power places to amplify the consciousness work that they would be doing. And they are remarkable places, but the reality is that these grids are all over the earth, and there are just as powerful places right here in New England as there might be in Giza or Stonehenge, just really, really potentized places. In my own work, the whole earth is a place of beauty, and it reminds us constantly to be in the place of our own beauty. Indeed, in the Navajo or Dene tradition, there's a phrase for healing, Shina Sha, which means return to beauty. And it's literally to learn and remember to recognize the beauty all around us and within us. And it amplifies those steps also of honoring that beauty point within us and around us. Indeed, there was this one time I was coming off one of the great mountains of Vermont and had an extraordinary practice where I just went into very heightened states of beauty and joy. And I could see all the way across from Mount Mansfield to the White Mountains down to Mount Ascutney where I live and over to the Adirondacks and the Champlain River Valley. It was just stunningly beautiful at sunset with remarkable clouds and colors in the clouds and so forth. And I was just alive with joy and gratitude and literally singing gratitude to everything I could see. Thank you to the mountains and to the river, to the skies and clouds, to the Mother Earth, to everything, to the sun, to the moon. Thank you, thank you. And as I was coming off the mountain, my experience was that Mother Earth came and shoved me to my knees and said to me, Zacciah, everything you see, you are as beautiful. And that was an incredible point of awareness and a turning point in my own consciousness and my own healing process of having to accept that place of beauty within. And it was after that I truly understood this Dene tradition of the return to beauty as a pathway of healing. And it's a beautiful thing that we in our culture tend to ignore, not really recognize. We are such an externally based culture. We look out at the world around us and forget about the worlds within and what we hold, the beauty and gifts we have, and how we might share those with the world. So I've said a lot. I'm going to take a break, but I'd still like to talk a little more about the earth points here if I could.
Sure. I would just love to say that you've just defined the ground of being so well, and you've actually defined meditation so well. You've actually said it is so much about that interconnectedness of the outside versus the inside and seeing the inside as reflected in the outside. And so I would love if you could just give me a sentence on shamanic traditions. I mean, that is literally, to be a shaman is the study of that connection, is it not? People ask us that. What does that, at the center, what does that mean, a shaman, shamanic sound, or shamanic traditions? It is literally that connection with nature, is it not?
Well, it is. I mean, to define shamanism could take an hour and a half by itself. But fundamentally, if I go back to one of my earlier observations, indigenous cultures and wisdom schools around the planet recognize and honor the earth as a living consciousness, indeed the entire cosmos. One of my teachers would say, if it has form, it has consciousness. In the Buddhist tradition, the Buddha would say that all of our suffering comes because we do not recognize our interconnectedness with all life. We suffer from the illusion of separation, and that is the source of all of our wanting and all of our conflict and all of our dysfunction and all of our suffering. In indigenous terms, the elders would say that we are birthed with the original instructions, that indeed every cell and atom is birthed and holds the original instructions of creation, meaning that we have all of the wisdom, all of the knowledge, the whole template of origin of creation within us. We know what to do. We know how to live in harmony. And it's fundamentally just relaxing and resting into our inner self enough to allow that inner harmony, that inner wisdom, that inner knowing to arise and be our guide, our friend, our colleague, our ally and teacher.
So the shamanic practice is literally just the return to that knowledge, the return to that inner knowing.
It is, and it's wonderful to have guides and teachers to help us, but the true guides and teachers will only teach us to turn back in upon ourselves until we can discover that place of power and knowing within us. Indeed, I like to quote Webster's dictionary a lot for reasons just as this. The word to know, literally the first meaning of that is that which is directly perceived. Now, in Western culture, knowledge is gained by studying with some expert outside of ourselves. It has nothing to do with our own inner knowledge. And yet the very first meaning of it in the dictionary is that which is directly perceived, meaning that we must trust our own inner perceptions, our own inner knowing. And that would be more in line with the indigenous teachings.
I find that we're coming back to it more and more. You know, we all have our perspectives, but I find that people are really yearning for that. They're really wanting that. They're opening up to it. Mindfulness is just simply a household term these days. We hear it everywhere. So, it's teachers like you that have really opened this up. We see new people coming in, I would say, every day in a new consciousness, sort of not a new consciousness, but a revisited consciousness, a sort of re-unfolding. It seems to be, I sense that we're moving a bit of a step in the right direction.
Well, we are. The whole earth is awakening, and it's a prophesied time of awakenings. And in the Peruvian mysteries, everybody's heard about the Mayan prophecies and the calendrical turnings of this time. In Peru, they have similar prophecies, and they call this the Torope Pacha, which means the time of meeting ourselves again. Just listen to that, the beauty of that language, the time of meeting ourselves again. And here we are. What part of ourselves do we not know? What part of ourselves must we wake up to? And indeed, the whole earth is coming into that place of seeing that there's more to life than we've been taught to believe in a more materially engrossed West. And we're turning back to that true nature of spirit within.
It gives me goosebumps. It's that, through meditation, we get to know ourselves and sort of become intimate with ourselves again. But man, when we get that zoom out, that macro of ourselves as humanity, ourselves as beings on this organism, Mother Earth, and how do we support her? And as you say, it only takes to go in your own backyard. Luckily for all of us in the show, our backyard is quite pristine. I mean, here we are. I'm in the foothills rather of the Green Mountains, and you're right there in them. Luckily, when I ask you about these most beautiful points on the Mother Earth, that you talk about our own backyard and it's sacred. I think everybody's got that, the ability to go outside and actually find connection to themselves, but also find connection to the greater whole. It's what's so beautiful about this conversation that keeps coming up again.
Well, absolutely. And the whole world is alive, awake, and beautiful. Where we have stepped in and altered things, it may not appear that way so much, but you can go to the Badlands of the Dakotas, and it's extraordinarily beautiful and enriching. The energy of the earth, the wakefulness of the earth. I was just in the Tunisian desert in the Sahara where there was nothing but sand, and it was such an alive and beautiful experience for us. Totally enriching, just remarkable. I have that beauty, as you're mentioning. I step outside and I have waterfalls and a brook and beautiful trees and so forth around me. When I go to nature, nature enriches my life because it resonates in a fundamental harmony. And anyone that can go, the closer to a true natural place you go, just rest there. We all know it. You sit there on the earth, and there's a harmonious resonance that occurs that I could take a very long time talking about also. But there's a fundamental resonance in the earth that inspires and awakens us if we just rest there in it.
And, you say these words like harmonious resonance, and it brings sound. It brings sound to the forefront, which is such a part of your relationship to all of your practices. You bring sound into it. And I have personally never really experienced sound in a way that I have experienced in your presence. And I'm so excited. We are actually going to do a little bit of a sound sequence, a little sound exercise when we get back. So We're going to go to a break, and when we come back, a little more talk. I'd love to hear a little bit about the sound work that you do, and then we're going to do an exercise. So more with Zacciah Blackburn.
Absolutely. Thank you.
If you're one of the millions of Americans suffering from anxiety, you probably know how powerless and out of control this emotion can make you feel. This is why it is so important to remember that anxiety is created by your mind, which means that you can learn to use your mind to uncreate it. Hello, my name is Dr. Friedman Schaub. My award-winning book, The Fear and Anxiety Solution, provides you with a step-by-step breakthrough process to understand and resolve the root causes of your anxiety and build a solid foundation of confidence and inner peace. If you're ready to take your power back, visit thefearandanxietysolution.com. That's thefearandanxietysolution.com, or call 866-903-6463. That's 866-903-MIND.
Awaken to your radiant, authentic self. For over 15 years, Soul Purpose Advocate Nancy Monson has been focused on leading change in the lives of those looking to live their true purpose. She is devoted to supporting people in living a soul-directed life every day. Let Nancy help you overcome fear, worry, and doubt. Visit everydayspirituality.com to learn how Nancy can be your Soul Purpose Advocate.
Tune in to Sheer Alchemy with Leslie Fontaine on TransformationTalkRadio.com and get ready to stir up your passions, identify your blocks, and shift into an entirely new existence. Leslie Fontaine is a transformation catalyst and clairvoyant who uses her intuitive and energetic gifts to catapult listeners into living the life they were born to live. Whether it's shifting from scarcity to abundance, from emotional pain into joy, or from illness into health, Leslie will help you step into the true essence and power of all that you are with the help of the Ascended Masters and Archangels. You will not be the same. Visit TransformationTalkRadio.com for show dates and times, and LeslieFontaine.com to say yes to explosive abundance.
Wondering how to play the game of life and actually win? Stop wondering and start willing the game of life with the unique and incomparable Lynn Brown. As an intuitive healer and experienced business manager, Lynn can help you live your life to its full potential. To learn more about Lynn, visit ruintuit.com. That's the letter R, letter U, intuit.com.
WPLQ. I wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend. You could cut ties with all the lies that you've been living in. And if you do not want to see me again, I would understand. I would understand. The angry boy a bit too.
Welcome back to Spirit Fire Radio. And before the break, we were speaking with Zacciah Blackburn on sonic healing. And we're just getting ready to go into an exercise. But before that, Zacciah, can you just kind of fill us in on setting it up, what you'll be doing and what sound healing is?
Well, it's two different questions. And we were talking about sound. Let me just go to that for just a moment. I want to say, Steve was talking about that his experience with the way that I do sound is different than he's had experienced before. In the first place, I just want to say sound works. When you really understand how to work with sound, it brings us into altered states, and it's a beautiful tool to add. Every culture on the planet has used it, from modern choirs to the Gregorian monks who really understood how to work with sound and voice, to Tibetan chants, to the indigenous shaman elder either by the fire doing a buffalo dance or in a lodge doing a healing session with somebody with a simple rattle and voice. It's not just the sound itself, but it's the nature of consciousness, the nature of the states of awareness that they're holding, and then utilizing sound as a tool. Sound works in part because all is vibration, and science understands this, that everything is vibrating. And when we come into alignment with those vibratory states, it's easy to access these heightened states of awareness. You could think of this just as if you were to think about the difference between feeling a state of joy or happiness and then feeling a state of sadness. And if you just took a moment to do both, what does joy feel like? Where's the pulse for that? And then step into sadness. And what does that feel like? And where do you experience in your body? And then coming back to joy again. And you'll feel a different pulse rate. If you pay attention to that pulse rate with each of those states of awareness, and then give a voice to what you're feeling there, you're going to amplify that feeling into the room, and that assists other people to come into that state. And that's one reason that this works. The way in which I utilize sound also, I don't often use standardized chants from any of the cultures. I use what's called toning, which is going into syllabic sounds that are kind of nonsensical on the outset of it. And when you use non-recognizable sound, the neurology of our brain acts differently. The sounds bypass the normal cognitive centers of the brain and awaken the occipital region of the brain, which brings us into a deeper place of spaciousness and relaxation and so forth. And this is one of the reasons that it works, but it's also because in my own practice, I'm connecting to divine intelligence in the sacred realms and bringing forward their methods or messages or wisdom or energies in the practice. So especially when you're in the room with me, there's a whole cascade of blessings going on in the room that amplifies the work even more. So I ask you to do a meditative practice. I go into my practice. I connect with the elders of the tradition from which the practice comes and give a voice to their wisdom in the room from the subtle realms as you're doing the practice, and it amplifies the energy of the practice in ways that are unusual to most people. So what I'm going to offer is a practice coming from Peruvian mysticism. It's a really simple practice. It's called the Samichakwe, and it has different variations, and I'm going to go into one of the variations. But the basic variation, the basic Samichakwe practice is to just bring awareness into your belly. Can I just go ahead and go into the practice, or do you want to comment or ask another question?
Well, I would just like to add just very quickly that, having been in a room with you doing this sort of this vibration, this sound, creating these sound healing exercises, is that it's so tangible. We have almost every creation story involves sound. Om and God said, it is literally the manifestation. And so what I found was in this sort of sound bath that it's so tangible, and these shifts that happen actually are on not only the emotional, mental, but physical level, that you start to understand sound as this sort of manifestation and this movement that actually creates very tangible effects. It's quite beautiful.
Absolutely, and culture after culture express how that happens. It's kind of a gateway to high magic, Steve. When you see one of the wizards doing an incantation, it's the same thing as the Hindus would say, when you bring clear awareness and clear feeling states together, using your consciousness and your emotions coupled with intention and giving a voice to it, you literally are engaging in the act of creation. So we do this with a high state of awareness, with a desire of integrity within the practice and so forth, because we're literally engaging in an act of creation when we do this work.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Wonderful. So yes, tell us the Peruvian mystery exercise for clearing and connection. I mean, it sounds amazing.
So again, it's called, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go on.
It's called the Samichakwe, which literally means becoming a column of light or becoming a column of living energy. So think about that also as we think about everyone from the Buddhists who say that the luminous body is our natural state, and they use the heart and the body as a connecting tool to bring forward that luminosity. Equally, I have one of my Cherokee elders who, in order to pass her teachings on, in order to become an approved teacher of her methodology, which is a 26-year-old lineage practice, you have to light a dark room at night with your luminous field. So you have to be a mindful practitioner to do that type of work. In the Peruvian practice, it's also to become an awakened or enlightened being. Literally, Inca means the awakened one or the enlightened one. And this is going into feeding the seed of our potential to become a flower of blossoming joy. That's the fundamental nature of their practices, to become a flower of blossoming joy, to become a master of moving, living energy. So we're connecting to earth and cosmic energy when we do this practice. We begin by bringing awareness into our belly. And I'm going to ask your listeners just to begin doing that now. And I'm going to bring some sound into the practice in a little bit, but I'm going to describe the practice, but ask you to begin now as I speak about it. Bring your awareness into the belly and just notice your breath, and just notice the rising and falling of the breath, and allow your body and your awareness to begin to go into a more and more relaxed state with each breath. Drawing your awareness into the belly, just letting it settle in there, and then just letting it go. And as we do this, we're going to awaken this seed of our potential, which resides just below the navel. And this is a power point in many cultures, from Hinduism to the secret chakra of Tibetan Buddhism. So just drawing our awareness into the belly and then slowly into the region just below the navel. All we have to do is just bring our awareness there. And this is going to literally feed and activate this seed of our potential. So just continue doing that for a little bit. I'm going to pick up a drum and go ahead and start drumming and just walk you through the practice, because, again, it's fairly simple for you to follow. If you lose track in the practice, just bring your mind back to wherever you last were and pick up, and it's very easy to follow. Can you hear this drum okay?
Yep.
Or just barely?
No.
So bringing awareness into the navel, into the belly, into this place just below the navel. On the in-breath, just drawing energy and awareness in, letting it build there. On the out-breath, just releasing the breath from this place. And after you've done this for a few moments, then bring awareness down to the base of the spine at the sacrum, where the spine and pelvis meet. Just bringing awareness here, and this also will activate this sacrum point. From the sacrum, breathe into the tailbone, which is just beneath the sacrum. We're going to breathe into the tailbone and activate it as if it was a root extending from the seed of our potential. You can just imagine that from the sacrum, awareness is extending in the tailbone and then into the earth beneath you, as if you were sitting in a warm and beautiful, spectacular place on the earth, perhaps under the summer sun. Just imagine yourself in a beautiful, warm place on the earth, as if you were sitting directly on it. And allow the awareness to move from the sacrum into the tailbone and then directly into the earth. Just use your imagination. Feel what it would feel like if this was actually happening. The tailbone extends into the earth. You can use the bottoms of the feet if it works better for you. The practice is done both ways, but I'm going to work with the tailbone. Breathing from the sacrum into the tailbone, into the earth, and just continue breathing down into the earth as if you literally were the seed of a plant, opening your root into the earth. Move your awareness further down into the earth as far as you're comfortable, as if the root was extending down and perhaps even out into the earth. It could become multiple rootlets if you have that experience. But as you do this, we ask that you release all heavy or non-beneficial energies that you might be carrying now through the root. All you have to do is set this intention. There's nothing more that needs to be done. And you're letting go of all emotional, mental, psychic energies that are not serving you. Perhaps there's some loss or sadness that you're carrying that you could let go. Or something else, something you haven't forgiven someone of. Just Let go of any heavy or non-beneficial energy into the earth. Follow it down and give thanks to the earth for taking it and transforming it. Just as she transforms all of the manure of the earth into next year's organic soil, this is what she does at an energetic level with our emotional releases into the earth. Letting go of all non-beneficial energy. You can do this as long as you wish to, and if you choose to, you can bring your awareness back into the body and find or discover other places that are ready for release. Any emotional turmoil or baggage, any sense of stress or chaos in your life, anything else that is causing discomfort or worry for you, simply let it go into the earth and give it to her as the Mother Earth, the Pachamama, the beauty being that she is, ready to transform our suffering out of her love for us. Give gratitude to her for taking the time to care for us and to transform these energies, just as she does for all life on earth. Give the heavy energy to her, release it, and give thanks for her transforming it, and follow it down. So again, you can continue doing this as long as you wish. But for the next stage of the practice, those who want to go further, I ask that you follow these roots and rootlets down and out as far as you're able to into the earth. Just breathing back perhaps a time or two into the sacrum and tailbone, then breathing back down into the roots, stretching out through the body of the earth. And we ask that you stretch back to all places of power you have ever been to. All places in your life in which you experienced a place of power, even a loss of power. This will work even for those places in which you had traumatic experiences. Stretch back to all places in which you gained or lost power on the earth. And remember those places. And then draw the energy from those places back up into your body, back up into the sacrum, or into this seat of potential just above it, below the navel. Do this several times, stretching out and down into all places of power, all places of beauty, all sacred sites you've been, all ceremonies, rituals, life experiences in which you have felt a sense of growth, expansion, empowerment, or even the trauma and loss of empowerment, to gain the power back from those experiences. Draw it up into the sacrum, up into this seed of our potential, and then up into the spine. Do this once or several times. You can continue this practice, but for some of you it will be beneficial to understand this is also a method to journey into the ancestral and elemental realms, to gain guidance and alliances with the ancestors and the elemental beings. You can take a moment just to acknowledge that, to stretch your awareness back through the roots into the earth, to reach into those ancestral and elemental kingdoms, to meet guides and allies, to gain wisdom and the gifts and blessings of those worlds, and bring these also back into the sacrum, the seed of our potential, and finally up into the spine. Take all the time you need, but once you've done this, draw the energy up into the spine again, raising it up into the full skull cap to the crown at the top of the head. You may feel a luminosity growing as you do this. Feel into that soft glow of light as you bring your awareness up through the upper brain centers, the whole skull cap, and up into the crown at the top of the skull. Slowly open to the luminosity of the celestial worlds above, the pure lands of light and sound, they might be called. Stretch into those pure lands of light above you, honoring and acknowledging the living forces of the cosmos. And you can stay there a few moments, but when you're ready, draw that light principle back down, that pure energy, the Sami, pure energy of the cosmos, the living energy of awareness. Draw it back down and drink of it, down through the crown, the third eye, down through the throat and heart. Feel it merging in the heart and body as you do so, merging with this seed of our potential, amplifying it, giving greater life force to it. And slowly letting this pure light of the cosmos move down through the spine, through the sacrum and root, into the earth, and give thanks again to the earth, giving it this pure light of the cosmos, thanking her for transforming this energy within you. And once you've done that, just one more cycle, stretch into the earth and bring this pure potential from all the places of power you've been. Stretch out and draw this energy back up through the body, all the way till it meets the crown and meets the descending energy of pure light from the cosmos. And let that pure light descend down through your body into the earth, becoming a column of living energy or of pure light. Continue in any stage of the practice as long as it serves you, but in the end come back into the heart or into that seat of potential in the belly. Find one of these places to rest in and just feel this fullness of potential and life force that you've engaged in. Notice the difference in your awareness as you rest here, perhaps in a state of appreciation or gratitude.
Beautiful.
Well, we're taking a moment just to let everyone rest in the practice. And you can take that moment, but Steve and Tim, when you're ready to come back and talk, you can. It's always good to take a little time to rest within the practice, to let the energy really accumulate and integrate, and come back to it again and again several times during the day, just to feel those impulses of light and life force and potential to help amplify and integrate the practice. And You can do this over and over through the day, through the week. Doing it outdoors with the earth is really remarkable. Drawing on the energy of the sun when you go into the cosmic realms is a beautiful way to engage in the practice also. There's many different variations on it, but you can see the potential that rests there within the practice. And again, Steve or Tim, you can come back when you're ready to speak.
Yeah, I can say that what was lovely is I was actually swaying through the whole entire beautiful exercise, and my chair became sort of like this. It became the surface of the earth, and I was so aware of everything happening beneath the surface, and yet above I was swaying, and I saw myself as a flower at times, and then a tree, and I went all the way up to the cosmos. As soon as as my sort of energetic, my vibration went that high, you began that process of the practice. So it's what I find is so beautiful is this vibration speaks to you on so many levels. Before you put it to word, it's actually speaking to you. Your body responds to it. And I sort of saw myself as this interface in a way. And it was just lovely to see all that was happening in this now as being the sum total, as you say, of everything that has happened, of these points of power, of ancestry, and where we're going in the future. It was just a lovely exercise, and the swaying was lovely. I found myself doing a figure 8 with my thumb on my palm, which is infinity. So it was just a lovely experience for me. Tim was beside me swaying as well. It was just lovely. So,
well, I'm grateful it was such a meaningful practice for you. And, you know, the word interface is exactly right. That's what we are. We are interconnected to sky and earth. We are an interface for it. Each of our chakras serve as an interface and a different dimensional expression of ourself, as I'm sure you go over with your constituents in these practices. And it is remarkable. We literally become a tree of life. In fact, I have this practice in an expanded form called the Tree of Life. And the listeners can find that on one of my websites, sunread.com. That's where I have CDs and instruments. But also, if they would like to learn more about the practices, I have many good articles, some with sound practices on them at thecenteroflight.net. They go into the articles section. They'll find those. If you look for one called The Hidden Treasures of the Earth, you'll see a great deal of what we do and have done through these practices, the astonishing experiences that we've had
Indeed,
through these practices. And just one last one, that if they looked at the Lionsgate practice in the Earth Mystery School, they'd see many of the things that are happening just by going out and working with sacred sites right here in New England. It's remarkable what has happened to us in these practices.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. The website is chock full of information and upcoming classes. So again, it is thecenteroflight.net. Look it up. And Zacchiah, it's been such a great radio show with you. We've got to wrap it up. So again, spiritfireradio.com if you want to listen to this show again and experience that beautiful exercise. Zacchiah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you also. It's always a pleasure. It's a great joy being with you guys. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll see you again next week on Spirit Fire Radio.
Thank you for listening to Spirit Fire Radio. Tune in each Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time, 12 noon Eastern, for your weekly guide to meditation and living with awareness. Join hosts Tim Darter and Steve Kramer and discover the ways that consciousness is being cultivated in everyday life. Connect to your day in a whole new way and find the amazing moments in life's routines that often pass us by. Add to your awareness with Spirit Fire Radio. To learn more about Spirit Fire, visit spiritfireradio.com.